And welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I am your host, Coach Donnie Hassan, back with another AFLW round review. I know I harp on it, ladies and gentlemen. I know I do, but damn it, this season is just far too short for all of the fun that we get to experience as we are through 10 rounds of the 12-round season of the AFLW. Darn it, I want more AFLW. I really wish I could, but unfortunately, just not possible at this time. Thank you, AFL House. You suck. Pardon me, I'm sorry, but I'll get it out there right off the bat, especially with my awesome co-host who knows that particular feeling very, very well. A very, very good friend of mine. We just had a ton of fun, totally trashing AFL House before we hopped on the mic here. Joining me, my great friend, Miss Nikki Claire. Nikki, it is great to see you again. How are you doing? And welcome back to the pod.
I am great, thanks, Donny. How are you going? Good to be back. Can't believe it's been a year since we caught up last. So
I
where does
know
the
I
time go, hey?
I
Not in the
know
AFLW.
far too quickly, unfortunately. Always great to see you, and it's always fun to see the amazing the amazing jerseys that you have in the background as the D supporter. I know that this was the first ever time our clubs played each other, and I kind of unfortunately knew that yours would get the Chunkies, but I still thoroughly enjoyed watching that game, and I know that you, as you were regaling me on off mic, you enjoyed yourself not only for the D's win, but being able to catch up with former D Brenna Tarrant, who I thought, despite having a lot of pressure on here, I thought played a fantastic game of football. But let's not just focus on that. We have a whole round of footy to go to, so let's jump into it. Thoughts on this interesting, high scoring, which I love, round 10 of the AFLW.
Ah, what a round, hey? If
Mhm.
we go by my footy tips, it'll look like I don't really know anything about footy this year, but it was a great round. It was some ripper games. There's a few that, like I said, with my tipping, I didn't think was going to go the way that it did. There's also a few that I sort of questioned looking back on how did I even get to the point of tipping who I tipped. But it makes for fun coming to the pointy end of the season. So no, it was great. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and it being Pride Round 2 weeks in a row is my favourite time of the AFLW calendar.
Yeah, definitely for sure. The Guernseys were magnificent this year. I absolutely loved all of the Pride Guernseys. I know Melbourne's was fantastic. I know Hawthorn's again was elite. Absolutely loved their Guernseys. So let's go through it one by one. Cannot wait. We'll start Friday night footy over at Alberton Oval as a shocker as the Power knock off the high flying Hawks 94-59, a cracking game. But this is where those I feel horrible because this is the Port Adelaide team that I said that this year's fixture was going to tell us where Lauren Arnell and this Port Adelaide team are going to be. Are they progressing or will we see a bump here? And unfortunately, the bump here has happened, but you see the class of this team. Gemma Houghton playing fantastic. Ash Woodland going into the midfield and looking fantastic as a midfielder, not a ruck, as a midfielder has been fantastic. And unfortunately, no Emily Bates was very glaring for this Hawks side. But again, still a
Mm,
very good Hawks team. But
yep.
Emily Bates's absence was really, really telling in this game. Abby Dowrick through the middle, fantastic. Your thoughts on this game between the Power and the Hawks?
Yes. I think it was the match of the round for me. Coming into this round, looking at the ladder, looking to see who Hawthorn had in these 3 rounds, I thought that this was going to test them, especially over there. Melbourne, of course, was their first loss was to Port over in Adelaide, so I knew that Port were going to come out firing. But the biggest thing that come out of it is that Port not only defeated the Hawks, but they got a big score on the board. And the Hawks, up until now, have been really good at shutting down the opposition
Mhm.
to the point where I get frustrated watching it because I just want to see goals kicked. And they're always low scoring matches. And this game was blown wide open. And I think it exposed how to play Hawthorn to a
Mhm.
T.
Yep, it'll be
Essentially beat them at their own game.
Yep, yep. It'll definitely be interesting to see if other coaches, especially come the finals time, really dive into this film because I think what Lauren Arnell did, and this again, this poor team has so much talent. Again, I think they're still an up and coming. Their issue is that a lot of their best are still sub 22, so their best years are still to come. So we're going to
Yep.
see them grow into it. Again, I think Lauren Young is going to take a little bit of maturing a little bit just because of the fact that she has dealt with a knee injury. She kind of came back halfway through the year. But I want to give a huge shout. Indy Tahoe. I mean, who would have thought the defender would go forward and now be the leading goal kicker in the entire competition after 10 rounds? I'm loving what Indy has done. She's looked fantastic. She looks like she was born to be a forward, which is interesting as a defender that to be able to shoot forward. Gemma Houghton, another three cracking goals in this game. Again, I like Port. Port is that one of those teams that I have notched up as they're the rightful step-ins for when North Melbourne, when Adelaide and Brisbane kind of come back to the pack a little bit. I see
Yep.
Hawthorn, Port, Sydney, maybe even a Western Bulldogs being those young teams that have a lot of sub 22-year-olds that I think could step into that. So it's going to be so much fun to watch this Port team grow over the next few seasons. Let's head out west to Sullivan Logistics Stadium out in Perth as the West Coast Eagles with what I would say is a shocking result. I knew West Coast could win this game. Geelong having to travel all the way from Victoria, a pesky, tough, very gritty, very solid side under Daisy Pierce, but was not expecting a smashing as a 31-point win. Eagles 50, Geelong Cats 19. Ella Roberts, OMG. I just have a really tough time not seeing her be up there in best and fairest because she has been incredible this entire season.
It's so beautiful to watch West Coast because you watch them. I got to watch them when they played Melbourne at Casey as well up close. But if you sit back and you watch their technique and how they go about it, how they hold their structure, it's like watching how many players on the field? 16?
Mhm.
16 Daisy Pierces in the making because they all have absorbed all of Daisy's wisdom on how to play the game. And once they gel together for the next couple of seasons, I reckon they'll be the new North Melbourne. That's my prediction.
If they,
So they were wonderful to watch. A little bit concerned with Geelong though, having to drop their skipper on and off throughout the season. I understand that, based on form, but I'm not sure it sends the right message to the playing group if they're the ones that have put their faith in her as a leader
yeah,
for
that's
Megan McDonald.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I don't want it to be don't want it to be true, but I think Meg McDonald's days as being the skipper of this Geelong Cats team, I think unfortunately are numbered again. I don't want it to happen. Trust me, I'm touching
Yeah,
wood all I can that that's not true. But
yeah.
unfortunately, I see that the fact that her form has been patchy a little bit, that I have a hard time seeing that being sustainable if she's not on the field. But I'm 100% with you. I love what West Coast is doing. I think Daisy has been absolutely cherry ripe, magnificent coaching this team. They've been through some bumps because again, being a young side, you're gonna have inconsistency. But when they are on, and they are fun to watch when they are on.
Oh, I love watching them.
Lucia Painter has come out of nowhere, been fantastic, absolutely. Again, Weedo, Charlotte Thomas, Ella Roberts, Emma Swanson, some fantastic footballers on this team. And the Wakeford sisters are really playing really well. Lauren has started to really mature into what I think a lot of people thought she would be when she was drafted her year. So, yeah, West Coast, so much fun to watch. Did not see that result. Like I said, could have saw the loss for Geelong, but did not see a smashing by the Eagles. So
Not
that
by
was
that
definitely,
margin.
yeah, exactly a little
Yep.
bit of a shocker. So we'll go down to Casey Fields and see the smile light up on my co-host's face as her beloved Melbourne Demons take down my beloved Sydney Swans 65-21, a 44-point win. But this was a weird one because I know you were there, Nikki. Casey Fields, no wind, what is this what is this magic? What is this weird thing? There's no wind at Casey
The
Fields, but
magic of Pride Round, all the pride coming together to make it the perfect day. It's the only thing I can call it. To be
oh,
fair, it did rain on the way there.
yeah,
I went in early because the Ruby Demons and Pride Cup had a stall set up, so I went in early to be able to set up the stall and get everything ready. But yes, no, the sun come out. I got a little bit sunburnt, so always
yeah,
remember slip, slop, slap over here. I did
yeah.
forget the sunscreen, unfortunately, but no, the game itself was a
It
lot
was,
of fun to watch. I actually thought the game was going to be a tough one on the scoreboard for the D's. The Swans got the first two goals, and I thought, oh, this is a good sign for Sydney, not such a good sign for the D's. But our old faithful skipper, old, I say old like she's old, but younger, Kate Hoare, kicked basically goal of the year in the pocket that we were all watching from. So that sort of kick-started the match for Melbourne, and then I think Sydney just struggled in the end with keeping up with Melbourne's ability to
Mhm.
just maintain possession and switch play.
Yep. No,
So
I'm 100% with you. The first quarter was the only one that was really competitive, and it is no disrespect to Sydney. There's still a lot of their best players are still very young. No, Chloe Malloy doesn't help either. I know,
yes,
Coach, what are you
huge
talking
out.
about? Just one forward. You'd be surprised how much confidence a player like that can bring to a team, especially when they're going forward. I love Giselle Davis. She came in for Chloe. She did her damnedest. She tried everything she possibly could to try to be the stand-in, but I mean, you cannot replace a Chloe Malloy. She's just a player that you cannot do that. But I loved the first quarter. I thought the first quarter was fantastic. Not only because Sydney was leading, but I thought it was great footy. I thought back and forth,
Yep,
tough arm wrestles, so much pressure. Neither player, not a single player could take two steps without having a tackler in their face. There was great ball movement, some slick handballs. Absolutely loved it. The second quarter, Melbourne kind of went, we're done with it. And they hit a gear that Sydney just is not ready for. And
yep,
you could kind of see that once Melbourne got into gear and you started seeing, like I said, Kate Horgan, Taylor Hanks started really becoming a menace, and there was nothing Scott Gallants could do. He put Tanya Kennedy on her. She was still getting the footy. They just could not keep the ball from coming straight from the center in. And then it was a long day for the defense. Brenda Tarrant, Ash Van Loon, Jazz Grierson, Zippy Fish, Lucy McAvoy, they had headaches all day long.
yeah,
They were constantly having to deal with whether it was Kate Hoare going forward. You had all of Alyssa Bannon again, absolute nightmare to try to defend. It's,
yep,
it was just a day where they tried, and then when they did get the footy, the structure behind the football was just to the point where the Swans were trying to bomb it deep, and intercept mark, and it came right back with interest. And so it was a long day.
yep.
Again, all plaudits to Melbourne. They show why they're one of the best teams in the competition this year. I honestly believe they're the second best team in the competition, and a grand final between them and North would be quite a scintillating thought process, but we will have to see on
We'll
that.
have to
Again,
wait and see.
I don't think the
Yes,
Swans played badly. I just think they just
yeah,
the gear that Melbourne could go to, Sydney just doesn't have that gear yet. And I think it'll
you'll get
come.
there.
I think it'll
Yep,
come with experience and some growth in some of the players,
yep,
but Melbourne is just so good. And again, they've got so many veteran leadership. I won't say old, veteran leadership, like Paxi, like Kate Hoare, like Lauren Pierce through the ruck. I thought her and Ali Morfitt's battle in the ruck was so much fun to watch personally as somebody that likes a good ruck battle. I thought
yep,
those two absolutely went after it. Neither really dominated for too long before the other figured out a way to kind of counteract it. So it was
yep.
a
No,
fun game.
it was really good.
Yeah, no, it stinks for Sydney because it puts them in a little bit of a bind in these last two games, almost having to win both to make sure they make finals. But I mean,
Yeah,
come see, come saw, you maybe if you win one of those games between GWS or Collingwood a few weeks ago, you wouldn't have the fear of having to win those final two to get in. So
might
speaking
be
of
good motivation for them.
exactly,
So,
especially with a very good West Coast team coming to Henson Park next week, that's going to be a ripping game. We will talk more about that in just the littlest bit. Let's head over to Arden Street where we saw an absolute stunner. As no, ladies and gentlemen, the Crows didn't knock off the North. North kept their win streak. But I say a stunner more is because I think we're starting to see the Adelaide Crows are no longer that dominant team in the competition as North absolutely hands them their tushy on a silver platter with a 40-point win, 71-31. This is such a good North side, but I was not expecting the first quarter to be a 31 to nil start. North really had this game at quarter time.
Yep, yep, and it just shows you when you have a good side from the top down. You have the right coaches, you have the right mindset. Everyone's on the same page, and most importantly, everyone knows what each other does on the field. They hold their structure. North, you can't fault how they go about it. You've got their players like your Garters and oh, who do I love watch playing the most is probably Riddell.
Hmm.
Riddell gets a lot of the ball, and I often question. Everyone talks about everyone has, as far as I'm concerned, you can have 40 possessions, but your if your output's only at 50%, then you're only getting really 20 possessions. But her percentages are going up each week. I think she's at just under 65% now. So she's running that drive and getting the ball inside 50. You can't stop their forwards.
Hmm.
So it's like if someone doesn't kick a goal, someone else is going to step in. It's like who's
Hmm.
going to take the turn this week, and it's scary.
Yeah.
It's
Well, and
scary to watch them in
it's
awe.
it's
I am
even
in awe of them.
yeah, it's even scarier when you look at for the first time in a long time, Ash Riddell was not the leading possession winner on the squad, and that it was Jazzy Garner who had 41 in this particular
Yeah,
game.
and
And
that
Ash,
I'm happy with that. They keep Jazzy in the middle until Kate kicks her 100 goals, and then Jazz can go up forward and kick some goals. They want to rest her this week. That's fine.
yep, I kept hearing that they were talking about who's going to be the first who's going to be the first to 100 goals in the AFLW. It's gonna be fascinating for sure. No,
Yeah,
I'm I it's the weirdest sensation watching this game because again, you're so used to as somebody that's been watching the AFLW for a while is that you're so used to this. The Crows team has been kind of the measuring stick of this competition. I mean, three premierships. I mean, but as I've kind of said a few podcasts, and I was even saying off mic to Nikki, I said, this is not the same Adelaide Crows team. This is almost a revamp. This is not the Crows team that won three premierships. There's only four players, if I remember correctly, that are still part of all three of their premierships. Four. That's it.
yep,
This is mostly a side that has been filled with South Australian talent that had direct paths into it during the state based drafts, and you're seeing the youngsters come through. Yes, you've got a Hatchie. Yes, you've got Nuffy. You've still got Eloise Jones. You've still got Sarah and Jess Allen. A lot of the staples over the last probably 4 or 5 seasons. But now you're starting to see the additions of Indy Rashid, Brooke Boylow, Maddie Newman, and some of the young crows now are starting to have their impact. But are they at the level or has the competition evened up? And I think the competition is starting to even up to the point where we're not going to have too many Norths very often. Okay, this is just an oddball year where North is just that good. I mean, you
yep,
add Elise Sharon in an off season to an already really good undefeated North team. I went into the season going, I will be stunned if North lose a game because that's how good they can be. And with their
yeah,
depth being, like I said, they had the game earlier this year. They didn't have Jazzy Garner. They still win. So it is a
yeah,
scary, scary situation trying to go up against this North side because they're that good. They're that
yep,
deep to the point where, I mean, Emma King wasn't even in this team for the first 6 rounds wasn't even on the park until like round 6 or 7. So it has
yeah,
been absolutely mental, this North team again. The margin is what stunned me just because I was not expecting Adelaide to go over to Arden Street and proverbially have their rear end served back to them on a silver platter, unfortunately. So let's go up a little bit more a little bit more competitive game, an argy bargy, a arm wrestle, whatever term you want to use is Fremantle. Go over to Sydney at Henson Park and knock off GWS 47-40, a cracking arm wrestle of a game of football. Loving this. Fremantle trying to keep their chances for finals alive. GWS, unfortunately, their inconsistent season continues again. Just can't seem to
Yeah.
string wins together, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think this is the game that got away for GWS. They were in pretty good stead to take the chocolates with this one, but just couldn't hold off the Dockers. Watched the Dockers closely the week before with very much red and blue blinkers on. So um, they do have some very good talent in that side, but they are so ferocious at the ball, and they knew how to beat Melbourne. And I think um, they could take it to the best teams just with the way that they just smother the opposition and don't let them get easy possessions. That's how they won it against
Mhm,
Melbourne. So um, I was actually surprised that Freo didn't win by more, to be honest. But
mhm,
so that's a credit to GWS with the season that they've had. Hopefully they start to turn the corner, but something needs to change there. They need to
mhm,
really start being aggressive in their recruiting in the off season and get
mhm.
some. I'm not saying that they don't have a talented side, but just some experience out on the park that can be leaders and take their game to the next level.
Well, and I know some people that are listening to the podcast are like, Coach, you're a Swans fan. How can you actively give? Here's my thing with GWS that I know that they had. I know Kate McCarthy had a comment, and I agreed with it and I disagreed with it. She's like, is it actually bad for GWS that Sydney came into the competition? No, I don't think it's bad. I also I'll say this, and again, this is not me bashing GWS at all. So please don't take it that way. Those that are listening. GWS is kind of they're also kind of the arbiter of their own downfall a little bit because I look at them and you go, there are some list decisions that they probably could have made that they haven't. Sydney was willing to go down to Victoria and convince some players to try to come up during the state-based draft. Now, again, I know the people that will fire back and go, well, it was different at that time. The pay scale was different. By the time Sydney came in, they could pay more. I get that. But there's no way you can't convince me that you can't find a university program in Sydney that could get a young Victorian, talented young Victorian to commit to New South Wales. So I will argue it. Do I get the financial argument? Absolutely. 100% get that. Then there's also their list management because I'm going to pull up one name and it's not the only one that are GWS castoffs or GWS kind of buried players that are now significant players in the Swan side. Ali Morfitt was a GWS kind of cast off. She wasn't getting there. They didn't put the work into her. She goes over to Sydney. Sydney goes, Ali, we want you to be the ruck of the future. Please do this. Bang. Now she's one of the best rucks in the entire competition. Jazz Grierson was delisted from GWS's roster. She's probably the best intercept marker on the Swan side right now. Beck Privatelli was cast aside from GWS. She signs, and she's had quite a career over with Sydney. So as much as I understand that a lot of the people are jumping on the Swans bandwagon because they've got a young, exciting side. They've got super talents like Chloe Malloy and Lucy McAvoy. Some of their depth players that they've brought in are cast-offs from the team that everybody is, oh, poor GWS. I get it, okay? I want GWS to be successful, not just because I think it's great for when two teams in the same city are both competitive, it's better for both of them. It sharpens them, it makes them a stronger side. But GWS is an arbiter a little bit of their own lack of success because they haven't handled some of their lower level talent to the point where they're progressing. They're going off, they're going to other systems, and other systems are improving them. So what's
Yep.
wrong there? A number one.
It's
Number
definitely their it's their coaching. It's
I
you
want
can
yep.
have you can have the talent, you can have the best talent in the league, but if your coaches are not playing the players to their strengths and hell bent
100%.
on just playing, you are going to play this game plan and it's going to work. Never
Yep.
does. Learn what your players' strengths are,
Mhm.
and you work your game plan around how they play,
Yep.
and then it all
100%.
cover together.
Yep.
And it has to. They have to cull at the top. They can't cull at the bottom,
Yep.
and
Yep.
that's what they keep doing.
Yep.
All the teams that struggle are culling the wrong area. You've got
Yep.
to start with your coaching.
100. I'm 100% with you. And again, don't take my
Yep.
criticism. Don't take my criticism as the red hat
Oh
part of
no,
me.
no, no.
This is
I'm not criticizing.
no,
I'm not
no, no,
criticizing
no,
what you're
no.
saying. I'm just saying, yeah, it's
I've
the
when you're on social media, sometimes GWS fans, sometimes they don't let, if a Sydney fan tries to tell them some of the things that there's, and I get it, and I 100% understand it because I think a lot of Sydney fans would probably do the same thing if a GWS fan is attacking or going after the Swans about a certain thing. A lot of Swans fans, they think they got to circle the wagons. And no, I'm saying this purely out of passion. I want the Giants to be successful. Trust me, I love it in the men's competition that they're both really good. It's annoying as heck sometimes when they play each other, but I love that the Giants are good. Iron sharpens iron. It is nothing but good for the thing. I want the Giants to be successful. I've interviewed Alicia Eva, absolutely love her to death. Sweetheart of a person. I want them to be successful. The only time I don't cheer for GWS is when they play Sydney. That's it. I want my fellow Sydney side to be successful. So when I see
yes,
people that are trying to kind of like, oh, poor GWS, come on, you got to pull them up. I mean, you're not going to tell a little kid in fifth grade who doesn't want to study his math, oh, poor you, math is so difficult. No, you have to put the work into them. You have to push them. And I think that's what
yes,
GWS needs is they need a little kick in the butt and go, hey, pull your heads in, do a little bit better because the talent is there. Now, I will say this, the national draft is starting to help them. You're starting to see them draft Sarah Howley this year, Martin, the other defender, both draft picks from this year, both have fit into this team nicely. Now that they don't have to convince players to say that they're going to be in the New South Wales draft pool, that does help because they have
yes,
Queensland talent, Victorian talent, WA talent, SA talent. I think GWS is going to be the national draft is actually going to help them because they were struggling when they only had the New South Wales. They were really
yes,
struggling because the lack of talent. I mean, there's just no other way to argue it, but their lack of drive to try to actively recruit, like Sydney did right off the bat. Again, we'll kind of put that to the side a little bit with what I mean is that again, Sydney had a little bit of extra money. Sydney was the bigger club in their hometown, so maybe there was a little bit more of a culture situation the way it was set up. I don't know, but GWS will benefit, I think, will benefit from now the national draft because they don't have the restrictions they used to have. So sorry, GWS, we didn't mean to take 10 minutes of taking a belt to your tushy here. Didn't mean to. My apologies on that one.
we
Again,
love you and we want you to succeed, GWS.
100
That's what we want.
100%. And I 100% agree with you that Fremantle they're a side I absolutely love their attack on the footy again having Turbo back. Thank you. I love Turbo. Absolutely love her to death. Aisling McCarthy again has been playing absolutely magnificent. Sucks that Anya Tig is back out again with a knee with knee soreness. I know that you probably at the time you loved it for Anya, but wasn't so happy when it come to the result. But
I
I'm
just quietly was hoping it was Turbo more than Anya, but we won't talk about that.
all right, but again this Fremantle side they're tough. They're tough. They get after
Mm,
it. I think they're just gonna fall short. I don't think they'll make finals. But again,
yeah.
competitive game. Absolutely loved it. So go down to Icon Park as unfortunately the Carlton Blues now have two consecutive losses as the Saints, despite their injury issues, despite looking like a hospital ward, unfortunately on the sidelines, the Saints get a win by 13, 49-36. Man, this Carlton side, they're really trying to make this a competitive end of this. They're really trying to bring this ladder back together at the end of the season because they were the darlings earlier the year, but right now they've kind of lost their way a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think they're the surprise packet for me this season. And I joke about it a lot, but I think it's their Irish factor that
I agree.
has propelled them to where they are. Have loved watching how they go about it. Was disappointed that they dropped Maddie Guerin a couple of weeks ago. She's back in the side this week, but I think she's crucial to the drive through the midfield and pushing forward and getting shots on goal. And loving seeing Darcy down in defence. I think a lot of people were surprised and knowing a bit about Darcy and their history at Darebin. They actually started out as a defender, so it's not something new for them to be down in defence.
Hmm.
If Carlton can put some super glue on Harriet Cordner's hands, they will be able to repel a lot more from defence. Love Harriet, but she's got to
Hmm.
take some grabs that she drops quite easily. So, but St Kilda were magnificent. Darcy Guttridge got player of the round from the Saints, and you can see why. Darcy coming back into the side, she was a late out, I think, last week.
Hmm.
Just gives them that extra drive, and she's so competitive and brings the ball to ground and won't give up the fight till you get the ball forward. I actually thought St Kilda were going to struggle with no Jamie Lambert in the side. And don't tell my Saints fans, but I did change my tip twice, and it got me unstuck. So they all lied to me that Jamie holds the team together. So, but
Uh,
yes, no, it was a great game to watch. I thoroughly
mhm.
enjoyed it. I think we get some good games at um we don't talk about it enough. It's probably one of the grounds closest to being up to a level for professional football
Mhm.
to be able to play on.
Yep. No, completely with you on that one again. Just they fought through everything. Georgia Patrikios goes down in this game. I think Nicola Zenos also goes down in this game. So
Yeah,
you're
like deja vu
losing.
against GWS.
I know they're
They all went
losing.
down at the same time.
Yeah, they're losing some superstar talents, unfortunately, but they still find a way to get a win. And again, I'm with you. I have been impressed with what Darcy has done down back, like
Mm,
legitimately. And I had heard that they had played at in defense back at Darabin. So I had known they had, but I think it's because of all of the years of them being a forward that you kind of get used to it and you kind of just kind of plug
yep,
them in and you think there's no way they're moving. Like that's a piece that's just there. And everything else
yep,
is kind of built around like a puzzle piece. It's like a corner. It's like a corner in a jigsaw puzzle. It's supposed to be there. But
yep,
now that they've went to the defense, you kind of look at you think that's a corner piece. So I think that's kind of why everybody was kind of confused. But again, they're a fantastic footballer. Like there's just no other way. They're
absolutely.
fantastic. So I kind of knew they would figure it out. That Coach Buck would put them in a situation where they would be successful, and they've showed they can. It's been fantastic for Darcy. Absolutely love it. Um, again, I'm with you. Struggling now hurts Carlton a lot because it now makes things a lot more tighter. I mean, there's some tight bum cheeks in Blues Nation right now because they want to make finals. They've been playing fantastic footy, but these last two games they've been struggling, and we'll have to see. Again, two games left, or still should make finals, but things have gotten just a little bit more interesting when it comes to the
Yes,
Blues and finals for sure. Let's head over to Windy Hill, and unfortunately, we kind of knew this was one of the more predictable results as the Brisbane Lions come down and get a 38-point win, 54-16. I just want to hug these Essendon players right now. I really do because they have just had to cop it all year. I mean, starting off as well as they did, and then they just keep. I mean, they just keep having injury in the worst possible situations, inconsistencies in places they can't afford it. I just want to hug this Bombers side because they're doing their best. They're trying their absolute tails off. But unfortunately, where they're missing players is really hurting.
yep. And it's really obvious that yeah, the key positions that they're missing their talent in. I actually had them before the season started. I had them in the top eight. So yeah, I was very surprised, and yeah, disappointed for them that they've sort of struggled to get the wins on the board. Made me a little bit nervous when we played them not that long ago. Thought they may come over the top of us in that last quarter, but they have spurts. Like there's
Hmm.
the first quarter against North and the first quarter against Brisbane, where they sort of played the football that we've come to expect from them,
Hmm.
hard at it, not giving up, getting the scores on the board, and then they fall away. So like any team knows that if you have a really good start to a game, that the opposition's going to come at you in the second
Hmm.
quarter. It's how they work on that from a quarter time onwards. How we know that they're going to come for us? What are we going to do? Are we going to change our structures? Not sure that that's happening. So
Hmm.
it's interesting to see what's the discussion in the coaches box and behind closed doors on how do they stop the once the floodgates open for the opposition. How do
Hmm.
they try and peg it and hold the opposition down? Don't think did they score another goal after quarter time?
I don't think so, but
Don't think they did they?
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's been their problem all year long. And again,
yeah,
and it's weird to look at this Essendon side because you look at again, and it's names on paper. And again, I think it's done way too often in sports where you assume that you have a superstar like Bonnie Toogood, you have a superstar like Georgia G, you have a superstar in Steph King, you have a superstar in Maddie Prespakis. You'd think with the talent that's there, they're going to put up
yeah,
several goals. Like
yeah,
especially with how good Bonnie is in front of goal. Like
yeah,
it's almost like it's almost you almost put it down to a duh like type of situation. But they've struggled so much. Bonnie Two Goods had to push up the ground to try to help out because the ball gets stuck in their own defensive half because they just have not been able to solidify their back five at all. And then the injuries have come on the wings, which has really caused Natalie Wood to have to throw a lot of magnets in different places, and it's just everything that could go wrong is going wrong for us. And I, like I said,
yeah,
I just want to hug them. And then I don't want to not say much about Brisbane, but Brisbane did what they're supposed to do. I mean, Allie Anderson, fantastic. Dakota Davis, fantastic, as per usual. Jade Ellinger off the halfback line, I think, is having one of her best seasons she's ever had. In fact, I would not be surprised if she's in discussions for an All Australian jumper this year because she's been fantastic off the halfback line for the Brisbane Lions. And I know that they've dealt with some injury on that particular part of the ground, and she has absolutely stepped up and played fantastic. Brisbane did what they needed to do. I don't really feel like I want to waste time waxing lyrical about a team that they did what they needed to do. In fact, I would almost say, I hesitate to say, probably should have put more points on this. This probably should have been a bigger win. And
yeah,
it's nitpicking. I know it's nitpicking, but with this Brisbane side, if you want to compete with the North, you can't take a team like Essendon towards the bottom, a potential spooner, and only beat them by 38. You almost want it if they want to show how good they are. That should have been
mm,
40, 50 points. And again, I don't like games like that because I feel that it's unnecessary extra damage. But when you're trying to go percentage, when you're trying to get confidence into a group, not putting away an Essendon team by more is it's a little bit one of those. I look at it and I go, is this Starcevich going, I'm getting ready for finals, pulling them back a little bit, or are we seeing that maybe Brisbane just doesn't have that run like they've had in previous seasons? I don't know. I'm not presuming either way.
yeah.
It's just a thought that went through my head looking at this score, going, are Brisbane tampering expectations a little bit to get ready for finals because they know it's gonna be an absolute slugfest come finals time with some of the teams that look like they could be playing for a premiership. Let's go down Victoria Park, and I will say this. I love that Richmond is starting to have a crack. I know it's a little late when it comes to anything when it comes to finals, but loving them have a cracking game between them and Collingwood as the Tigers get a 13-point win at Victoria Park, 46-33. And I'm going to start off with it. Holy crap, Sarah Hosky, you were absolutely insane for that mark. Holy crap.
That has to be up there for one, and not just the marks of the year, but marks of the competition so far.
Hmm.
And how she didn't get collected by a teammate with that fist coming through, I will
Hmm.
never know. But
Yep.
that was courage, if you want to call it courage. Maybe I don't know. I wouldn't even
Some
do
may
that even
even
though
call it
I'd be
insanity.
drinking. Yeah, well, we've seen hers in just in social media posts. We know what they're capable of. So,
They're
but
absolute
yeah, like
characters,
that's
and I love it. So
yes, I think that's commitment, and sets the standard for your teammates too. I think that's why we love having Taylor Harris in our side is because she sets the standard of the no
Mhm.
fear and putting her body on the line for the team. But yes, it's good to see. I was a little concerned there for a while that the Four Tigers might go through the season without a win. So it was good to see them get another win on the board. They've got some talent in that side. It's just taking them such a little bit longer than I thought to gel and understand where each other's at. I thought that the wins would come early and they would be going to be one of the ones knocking on the door for the eight. I didn't think that they'd make the eight, but I thought they'd be a lot closer than what they were.
Mhm.
Um, Collingwood this year again have been decimated by injury, but I'm going to throw my toes out the cot here, and I tipped Collingwood for the win. So I thought they still might have had enough firepower in the side to get the win. But yeah, it's interesting to see where they're currently at with their list as well, because I thought they recruited very well
Mhm.
in the off season. So to have an indifferent season has been a surprise to me for Collingwood.
Yeah, well, no Bree Davy definitely doesn't help. And again,
No,
she's not like I don't get me wrong. I'm not wanting to pull back, but I'm also one of those is like she's a big piece. Is she the piece that's the reason why they're struggling? No. Um I think Ash Centra has taken a little bit longer to warm up into this level that I think some people expected. Again, that's a little bit of for number one overall pick syndrome a little bit. I think Christy Lee Western Turner has had to deal with that a little bit at the Western Bulldogs as well. That if you're not a number one overall pick and stepping into the W and having an impact and making a huge splash, um, people start to question why. I don't. I've seen enough from Ash that she's gonna be fine. She's gonna be fine. I think
yeah,
sometimes she's had to shift forward because you've got Britt Benici through the middle. You've got Ruby Schleicher through the middle. You've got some really good, well-established AFLW talents through the middle. I like that they're not just chucking Ash and going figure it out. I like that they're
yeah,
kind of slow playing her into it. They're getting her to the center, but they're playing her forward. She's learning a little bit of forward craft to the point where I think she could potentially be a Kate Hoare type, where she starts in the middle and drifts forward and becomes an absolute nightmare because she'll have forward craft as well, along with her ability to move to win the footy. So I think Collingwood may be a lot smarter than some people think is that they're developing Ash for not next year, but in 3, 4 years from now, when she may be at the peak of her power, when she could be at the peak of her talent and powers. So I actually like what Collingwood is doing. I want to go back to Richmond really quickly. The fact that Sarah Hosking did that and she's been playing halfback flanker is incredible because she's known as a forward. She's known as that small pressure forward, loves to tackle, loves to get after it. She's had kind of a revamp at this half at this half the halfback flank position, and she's really looked fantastic doing it. And having this mark where she's, as you said, the courage is insane for this because she's going with the fly to the football. And as you said, Beck Miller is coming for that spoil and probably misses her head by inches or centimeters if we'll use the metric system here since we are talking to Australians here. There's only centimeters from where Beck Miller's fist is and where Hosko's face is.
yeah.
So
There's a great photo
I've
actually,
seen it.
and
I've
her
seen it.
forearm is up against her
Yep.
face.
And my
Yeah,
favorite part is
insane.
Hosko's eyes were closed.
That's
Her
yeah.
eyes are
That's your
complete.
Hail Marys and hoping
She's
for the
literally
best.
she's literally basket catching it like Willie Mays over here. The basket catch. She's got it, and you can see she's like, I mean, her eyes are completely closed, and you can, like I said, Beck Miller's fist is only probably 3 or 4 centimeters from her forehead. It was
Yeah,
insane. So, again, Hosko, if you see this,
so good.
incredible mark. I
Yes,
want it to be
bravo.
mark of the year. We'll have to see if it is. but I loved the courage. I know I put it out on my socials because the courage was insane. And again, I respect the hell out of Hosko because she plays that. That's the way she's always been. So absolutely fantastic. Let's head up to up to Mackay, at Great Barrier Reef Arena, where the doggies said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to announce ourselves with an absolute smashing of the Suns, 72-6." And that six was not a single goal kicked.
Yep. I really, really thought that the further north they went, the more chance Gold Coast had of winning. Did they make it up there, or did they go to the wrong ground? I'm not sure because I think
A
them.
few of them did. I mean, Neve McLaughlin, Charlie Robottom did. A few of the others, I think they might have been at they might have been there physically, but their minds might have been on the beaches. So,
No, no, they have been. It's been a year for them, hasn't it? It's they've definitely been on struggle town. But geez, the doggies have hit some good form late in the season.
yep,
To see Ali Blackburn at her feisty best
yep.
is something to watch. And Elaine Grigg, I just love watching her. I keep saying every
Hmm.
time we play them, she looked really good in a Melbourne jumper. So recruiters, if you're watching, yeah, come over to Melbourne. But no, they've got some really great players through their whole line now, from defence through
Yep.
the mid through to the forward line. Um, and everyone contributes. That's what I'm loving about the doggies. Like when we played them in round one, they were still finding their feet, and it took them a little while to get to where they are now. But even in that game, you could see the improvement on what they had from last season. So it was yeah, really impressed with what Tam Hyatt's done with the squad that she's got.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. I want to give a shout out. Isabel Pritchard's absolutely played fantastic as well.
Yes.
Loved her through the middle. She's been fantastic. I know she's a little lucky girl that she didn't get suspended after that no, that MMA elbow to Maddie Prasparkas. I felt horrible
I
for
think
Maddie.
the yeah, I think the MRO set the standard when they didn't suspend the Dakota Davidson for the hair pull. So
Yep.
I don't think they can really suspend anyone else out now unless it's a full on roundhouse punch to the face
Yeah, unfortunate,
anymore.
and
So
it's unfortunate that that's the truth. That's the sad part. But no, I love the doggies again. GW Gold Coast. They're a team that honestly, they're a little bit like the men. I think they're going to have to go through some big time struggles, but there's so much young talent coming through Queensland. Like, I mean, the number one overall girl is a Gold Coast Academy player. They're going to get her. They're going to get Ava Usher, and I think that could be the catalyst for Gold Coast to jump up the rankings. I'm loving this resurgence of the doggies because and they're doing it with a little bit of everything. They're doing it with a lot of heavy pressure. As I said, I've been watching Elaine Grigg since she was playing in the Sample 2 years ago. Loved her to death. Her tackle pressure. She's the same exact player that she was the Sample W as she is in the AFLW. Incredibly talented. Her quickness and tackle pressure is something that most players do not want to deal with, and she's there all day. Like she has a tank upon tank. I would love to see her do some fun through the midfield because I think with her pace, she'd be fun to see go through the midfield. But I love
her
her as that
pressure that
pocket.
on the ball is insane.
Yep, yep. She is an absolute energizer bunny. Absolutely love her to death on that.
Yeah.
As I said, Isabel Pritchard's been playing fantastic. Alice Edmonds through the rock again. Her, I'm seeing her make more of an impact outside of just winning hitouts because I know that was kind of
Yeah.
her shtick that she'd win all her hitouts, but then she'd be a four possession player. She's starting to double that. She's getting to nine possessions. She's making a scoreboard impact. She's getting around the ground even a little bit better. So I'm liking the development of Alice Edmonds as well for the doggies. Seeing Lila Weefy back playing footy after
Yes.
such a long time
That's so good.
it's a story I absolutely love, and I think she's fit that doggy side quite well. Seeing Sarah Hartwig really come for them as one of those forwards who can kick goals for this doggy side. It has been fantastic. And I love watching this doggy. They're going to fall short when it comes to the finals, but the building blocks for their next final side are is there. They are
Yeah.
there. It's can they do it before Ellie sails off to the sunset will be the question with Ellie Blackburn is I want to see them make finals at least one more time for Ellie because she has been such a stalwart for that club. There's been a few times over the last probably 3 years where she could have had her head turned. She could have left the kennel, but she stayed at the kennel. She wants to be there for the Western Bulldogs. So absolutely love that as a person that loves loyalty to clubs, especially considering there's so little loyalty in so many competitions nowadays. Absolutely love it. So I want to see them make finals again. This is a very, very well built young roster that is going to grow into its feet. And I cannot wait to see those days. So, well, Nikki, that is all 9 games for this nutty round 10, all done. As per usual, you've been on the podcast many a times. We go to the burning questions. And these are my fun ones that I love to bring out for you, Nikki, because I know how very strong you are on your opinions, especially your love for this competition that is the AFLW. So have
Yes.
at it, girl. Grab your soapbox, stand on it, and absolutely
All
preach,
right.
girl, on this one. A
Let's do
report
this.
has come out that Marvel Stadium is not even being considered. It has already been shut down. Is this discouraging as a W fan that a bigger stadium should be used for a grand final and is not even being considered?
Well, I think the answer is that it shows you exactly what the AFL's priorities are, and that they'll get a lot more money and a lot more profit renting it out to non-football organisations to use the ground rather than use it to develop the women's program. Um, they would rather spend more money on misogynistic homophobe to be the grand final entertainment rather than spend money on the women's program. So it's not really that much of a surprise to me that they've turned around and said, sorry, Marvel's not available. It's not viable. Um, like a couple of years ago, they didn't even have a ground for the AFLW grand final in Brisbane, and they ended up using the training facilities that is now Brisbane's home ground when Melbourne and Brisbane played in that grand final and the grass hadn't meshed. You couldn't bounce the ball on the ground because it wasn't ready. So that tells you that in what 3 years, no progress from the AFL. The AFLW is not their priority
Yep.
at the moment.
No, I've said it again, and I just want AFL House to understand that we hear your messaging. I mean, you've told us very, very simply that AFLW is not here because you want women's football to be successful. AFLW for
Yep.
you guys is it's to make yourselves look good PR wise. Look, see, we did this for the women. We did this. No, you
Yeah. You
didn't. You
should be
didn't.
grateful that we've done this for you.
Yeah, I
And
did.
I've actually had journalists private message me with the same message when I've questioned why they don't report on it as much
Yep,
as they should.
yep.
You should be grateful that we report on it at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay. Yeah, whatever. Consider even though the actual growth when it comes to footy is actually on the women's side than in the men. If you actually look at statistically, there's more women's sides popping up throughout the country than there are men's because the men's is basically they've almost run the well dry. Like let's just be honest. When Queensland is the hotbed for footy, instead of WA, SA, and Victoria. That shows you you're tapping out the market. I
Yep.
think they really want Tasmania. I think AFL wants Tasmania really, really bad because they want more talent infused into the men's game. The problem is they've literally run that spigot dry. And then they wonder why. And it's very, very frustrating. I'm 100% with you. It's very as a lover of the sport because I think the women's game has an appeal in a different way, not just because it
Yep.
is a very inclusive, because so many of the players are out and very proud in the community that they are in. And again, I absolutely love it seeing pictures of Chloe Malloy and Jade Ellinger as a couple who play for two completely different teams. And they absolutely are such the cutest couple. Love seeing their photos to death. They're absolutely fantastic. This really hurts me because especially with Melbourne having a chance to break Melbourne having a chance to break the record for consecutive wins, having a chance to be an undefeated side for the second consecutive year, people want to see that. And for you to say, well, we'll probably play at an Icon. Yeah, I know you'll sell out Icon for 10,000. That's great. But You could get 15,000. You could get 15,000 if it's North Melbourne and Brisbane. You can get 15,000 there at Marvel Stadium. And it wouldn't affect anything because you can put the cricket pitch in after the grand final. It's fine. BBL doesn't need to do it. You own the damn arena. But again, it is basically it is a PR move. It is not a move that was made for the improvement of women's football and the expansion of women's football in the country. It is basically a PR move to go, see, look what we did. Look what we did. We no. I'm sorry, AFL House. I'm going to speak to you like the adult that you want to be, that you are not. It is a PR move, plain and simply. You are not
Yep.
doing what you can to progress the sport. You are screwing things up. Most of the reasons why these women are not playing 14 games is because of you. It's not because of the fan bases. It's not because of the talent. It's not because of the fans. The fans are showing up. We're seeing records being broken. Sydney, over 7,000 in Henson Park in a non-football state. 4,000 people just showed up to a game at Victoria Park. Don't tell me people aren't coming to the games. People are coming to the games. But when you put games at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in suburban Melbourne, come on, pull your freaking heads in.
Yep.
Okay, I get it. All
Yep.
right. I have the same issue that I have over here when it comes to the WNBA. I've said numerous times, if these women want to be paid the way they are, some of these owners have to stop playing weak and play their games at 4,000 seat arenas. They need to be playing at 10,000 seat arenas because if they want what they deserve or what they feel they deserve, you have to give them that ability to do that. And if it's all about the money, start playing them in bigger arenas. Once we figure out can they fill them out, which I bet we probably will, it's going to progress. It's going to be there. But when you hinder it by putting them at places where the metrics that you say these girls need to establish, they can't be established because you're putting them in a disadvantage right off the bat just by where it's being played, let alone the time frame as well. So now that we've had our
And that
rant, go ahead.
marketing, the
Oh
marketing is
yeah,
this
100%.
much.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
there's not enough shows about it. There's not enough shows about it. There's not enough PR. There's not enough print articles. There's way few too many. I mean, I have to go searching for W show reviews. I have to go searching.
Yep.
And AFL and the new W website is fantastic. Absolutely love it to death. And again, what Sarah Ali, Sarah Black, and all of the W show and all that Gemma Bastiani, don't want to miss her because Gemma is fantastic. Had her on the show really early. Love Gemma to death. I mean, they put in yeoman's work. Love them to death, but there's just only so much you can do. And when you have nobody else that's wanting to do it, it makes it much more difficult. So I'm
Yeah.
100%
But
with you.
then they won't allow others to do it.
Yep.
If it's too hard for them, they can get others to take over and they will do a much better job. Look at I know I always use the Matildas for the Women's World Cup. Yes, it was
Hmm.
played in Australia. They are still selling out friendlies
Hmm.
from then on. You know, you build it and they will come, but
Yep.
you have to put in the hard yards at the beginning to get to reap the rewards.
Yep.
So
It's
blows
one
my
of those
mind.
it's one of those when people see how great it is, then
Yep.
they can't forget it. They won't forget it.
Yep.
And that's
Exactly right.
I 100% with you. Like the Tillies are selling out, not just because they had the World Cup at home, but everybody saw that they're a damn good football team, damn good football
Yep.
team. So, and people
And
want
they
to
were given
watch.
the airtime to be
Exactly.
able to show them what they're
Yep.
capable of.
And people want to watch that 100%. So
Correct.
let's take our
Yep.
soapboxes, we'll put them in the corner. Let's talk some fun W now that we've had our rant. Hey, there's nothing wrong with a good rant,
Yes.
especially on a podcast when we can go full on. We can go full on for sure. So, all right. So we'll go to the second question. We have 2 rounds left. The finals look to be down to 9 teams, with Sydney being the one sitting outside the 8 currently. For
Yep.
you, Nikki, who's the sad team that will not be playing finals of those 9 sitting there competing for those 8 spots?
I've been thinking about this, and you and I touched on it before we started our chat. I think it's going to come down to injuries and the old injury curse, but I fear it's going to be either the Blues or the Saints that miss out purely because of injury. That's going to take that. away from them for this season, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, both like St Kilda keep winning. Like I said, they 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 bluffed me by being able to win with all the injuries that they've got. But Carlton have really struggled with a couple of players that they've had out. So I think your Swannies might just sneak in just quietly.
Mhm.
That's my prediction. And I think it might be at the expense of the Blues.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because just I wanted to pull it up just to see the two teams that you have that no St. Kilda get North this week, so that's not helping, and then they get a hot fire doggies. So they do
Yeah.
the one thing that they have a huge advantage over is they do have 8 points on Sydney, so that helps St. Kilda. So
Mm,
even if St. Kilda were to lose both games, they've still got the opportunity as long as they can keep the smashings to a minimum that maybe their percentage may get them in. Well, again, it'll really depend on that doggies matchup in round 12. But then
yep.
it really it really doesn't help too that Carlton has West Coast, one of the other teams they're fighting with, as their round 12 opponent. So as we kind of said,
Yes.
West Coast is going to, you hate to say it, West Coast is going to be the make or breaker for the end of the finals because they could also put themselves into the situation if they were to lose to Sydney, then they go to the game at home in Perth against Carlton, knowing they got to win to stay in because if they lose to Carlton, they could be out. So,
I did say that they are the two match of the rounds, both
yep,
West Coast
no,
games.
100%. I'm 100% with you that I think West Coast is going to West Coast and Carlton are the two teams that I really keep an eye on. Like I said, St. Kilda, it's the extra win, the 8 points on Sydney, I think really helps them. It's the scary part is that North matchup looming this round and knowing that you need to keep percentage. It's a little terrifying, especially if potentially
Yep.
no Georgia Patrikios, no Nicola Zenos, and they're already, like I said, they're already being held together with any adhesive that they can find. Um, I think for me, I think round 11 is going to tell us what because I mean if Sydney lose to West Coast, it's over. The eight is set. There's no way Sydney gets in if they lose to West Coast. If they beat West Coast, round 12 then gets very interesting because it
Yep.
really does because Sydney plays Essendon. So again, I'm not wanting to assume I'll touch wood, do all that stuff. They should beat Essendon. Okay. That would give them 8 points, give them 28. So then they would be even with St. Kilda, sans the results that have happened since round 11. So there's a few machinations. I'm with you. Like I said, I look at those four teams, St. Kilda, Carlton, West Coast, and Sydney. I said those how the results go will really depict it. Um, Sydney beat West Coast. Sydney's in. I'm 100% with you. I think either Carlton or West Coast fall out depending on how that goes. So I I hate trying to pick this because excuse me. Um, there's just so many machinations I wish I knew or knew how they potentially could go. Um,
Yep.
my gut tells me Sydney makes it. I think Sydney they bounce from that. I hopefully Chloe is back. If Chloe's back, I think they have enough to beat West Coast. But again, I think it could be game of the round because those two teams are going to get after it, and with the talent on the field, it could be absolutely incredible. And then West Coast could be flying because they know they'll make finals, even despite having that also tough game at home against Carlton in round 12. So I'm right now, I'm going to say I think it's going to be Carlton that falls short because I worry that they'll get the win over GWS, but then they could potentially lose to West Coast. But I don't know. And like I worry about St. Kilda's percentage again with that doggies team that loves to score in that last game, especially with no injury, especially if Patrikios and Zenos are both out for the final 2 weeks. And then there's part of me part of me thinks Sydney will fall short against West Coast this week. So then I worry that they're already going to be out of it. So round 12 is going to have far less intrigue when it comes to the eight. It could be more of fighting for position would be it. So,
Yep.
oh, it's going to be, this round is going to be just as nuts. But round 12 is really going to be focused on if Sydney win, all sorts of fun happens in round 12. If Sydney loses,
Yep.
then really the fun is just who plays where. Like
Yep. How
how's the
does
ladder
it
gonna
finish?
fall? I mean, we know North's gonna be one. Pretty sure Melbourne's gonna be two. It's 3 to 8. 3 to 8 could be absolutely scintillating with some of these results the way they could possibly go. So, and then I
Yep.
always end burning questions with a question about your team because I love letting my co-hosts have a little bit of fun of being able to put their hat on and be nuffy if they want to. So, as the Melbourne supporter that you are, I know you're chuffed. What are your thoughts on what is looking like a top four finish for the D's?
Well, I'm pretty excited. This time last year, we were starting to hit some form. Just missed out on finals last year. Beginning of the year, a lot of people write us off based on where we finished last year. So I'm a little bit chuffed that we've stayed in the top two, top three for most of the season. Um, all going well, we should almost have a full complement of a list, which we struggled with a little bit. Fingers crossed, all going well, heading into finals. We should hopefully see Blahin Mackin back in the next week or two, which will be wonderful.
Hmm.
I've got everything crossed that we actually see Grace Beasley back this season. So she did her ACL early on last season, and she'll be a good uh, top up for the midfield since we lost Liv Purcell in round two. So um, if we get them back in for the next couple of weeks, I think for sure we'll finish top two. Um, and my prediction are for finals, it's going to be a North Melbourne grand final, and we'll sell out Icon because we're not allowed to play at Marvel Stadium. So, but yes,
I will say this. My ultimate right now grand final, if I could pick, just hand pick the two. I mean, we know like again, I think North is kind of stapled, super glued and concreted in there. I think North's gonna be there. It's who's their opponent. And looking at the way the results have went this year, I would agree. I think Melbourne should be that team. I think they've been the second best team the entire season this year. Again, some would make the argument of, "Oh, look at their fixture. Their fixture isn't as difficult this year." Okay, and every year the fixture is different. Not every year you're
yep,
going to have a fixture. In the games that they have played well. Even in their losses, they've played well. They've had a few things not go their way. Looking at it, it should be. Are we going to get that? We'll see because it really will depend on who's that three seed. Is it Hawthorn?
yep,
Because if it's Hawthorn, if you're Melbourne, you should be licking your lips on that because I think that's a matchup you should win. If it's Brisbane, I'd be a little bit more concerned just because Brisbane has that veteran experience. They've got those players that have played in grand finals, Ali Anderson, Orla Dwyer, Sophie Conway, Dakota Davidson. I mean, the list goes on and on with how good they are. So I'm 100% with you. It really, I look at the ladder and go, what's your road? What's your road to the grand final? Because if
yep.
you're the two seed, you get the three seed in that qualifying final. Like I said, right now it's looking like Hawthorn could be Brisbane. If you
Still
get
get the home
Hawthorn,
final advantage though.
exactly. If it's
Yeah,
Hawthorn, I'm licking my lips. If it's Brisbane, I'm a little concerned just because again, Brisbane is always a team that seems to find their good gauge, their step up come finals time. So I'm with
yeah,
you. I think right now, you ask me right now, I would love to see a North Melbourne grand final. Absolutely, for sure. No, I'm 100% with you. I think the top two spot should be theirs. It will just been what's their path? What's their path to the
yep,
grand final? Because if
yep,
they can get by with Hawthorn, I think they've got a really good opportunity of getting to that grand final, which would be absolutely magnificent to see a Melbourne versus North Melbourne grand final. So that is it for the burning questions. Here we go. It's time to have a little bit of fun. As you know, since you've been on the podcast so many times, I have my team of the week. You know the parameters. I've told them several times. So let's jump right into it. We will start on the fullback line again as a coach at heart. We start with defense because defense wins championships. And my two fullbacks, starting off with Geelong's Claudia Ganjaka. Again, fantastic for her. She's been magnificent back there. She's stepped into Meg McDonald's spot and has done very, very well. And then I got to give a shout out. Harriet Cordner will be the other fullback. She has been absolutely magnificent for the Carlton Blues. On the halfback line, we see Emma Swanson of the West Coast Eagles, Cambridge McCormick of GWS. And then I know she's ran a lot more through the midfield this year, but I love her at the halfback spot. Shelley Heath of the Melbourne Demons. I know that'll get a little grin from Nikki as she listens in. In the ruck spot through the center, we have Lauren Wakefer of the West Coast Eagles. On the wings, Aaron Fitzpatrick of the Carlton Blues, and Orla or Dwyer. It's an Irish wings. It seems like tends to be the way it goes on that. Through the center, we have Ali Anderson of the Brisbane Lions, North Melbourne's Jazz Garner, and North Melbourne's Ash Riddell round out the center. Midfield on the half forward line, we see Gemma Houghton of the Port Adelaide Power, Hawthorn's Anya McDonough, and Richmond's Katie Brennan round out the half forward line. At the full forward line, we have Indy Tahu of the Port Adelaide Power, and West Coast Lucia Painter round out the starters. On the bench, our defender is Arline Reynolds of the Collingwood Magpies. Gotta get her in for the goal that she kicked. My midfielder, Kate Hoare of the Melbourne Demons. My ruck, Mimstrom of the Fremantle Dockers. Oh, and I wrote down the wrong name. I'm not going to try to figure it out. I have Anya McDonough down here twice. Whoopsie. That's the fun about recording it on that one. I'm not going to try to pull my notebook. I think I can reach my notebook just enough for me to be able to pull out who my other one was. Oh, my apologies. It is not Anya McDonough in the starters. I must go back, rewind, go back to half forward line. It's Eden Zanka of the Melbourne Demons. That was who I was missing. My apologies, Eden. I'm sorry. I know you probably aren't listening to this. So it's actually Gemma Houghton, Eden Zanka, and Katie Brennan along the half forward line. Anya
I
McDonough
don't have to
is
protest
forward.
now.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. My apologies. And then my utility is young midfielder Jazz Fleming of the Freeman of the Hawthorn Hawks. My apologies, Eden. That was not done intentionally. I was filling this out quickly yesterday. So there's some fun of the podcast with me trying to do it on the run. So I know a lot of names and a huge mistake on that, a huge whoopsie on that one. But thoughts on team of the week?
Ah, I wouldn't want to be playing them this week. That's for sure. Yeah, what a lineup. Yeah, it's good side when you got Kate Hoare on the bench. So yes, that midfield is very, very strong. I would love to see two teams of the week, two totally different teams that you pick play off against each other. Be almost as good as an All Australian versus an All Irish team, I reckon.
Well, I know that just not too like it was like 2 weeks after they had discussed the rep footy that I had Michael Kieran from the Irish recruiter who's brought a lot of the Irish
Yep.
players over from, and him and I were joking. I said, you and I should sit down and put together just an Irish-born AFLW players for a 18 on 18 aside. And I said the only weakness that the Irish have is center midfield. If you really look at it, the rest of the ground, they've got some really good players on the back end, on the wings, on the forward line, even the ruck with Alicia Dowd. Center midfield is the only one where they're a little lacking because after Aisling McCarthy and Tanya Kennedy's more of a defensive midfielder for Irish-born players, that's really about it. They really don't have a third mid center midfield. You could run an Orla or Dwyer through there. You could run an Aaron Fitzpatrick, a Dana Finn, and a Neve Kelly. So many of these.
Sinead Goldrick was playing in the midfield last year, or
Yep.
tainted to play the midfield
Yep.
until Melbourne got all their injuries last year.
Yep.
So that could have helped you out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. But
she's see ball, get ball, runs through anyone. She ran
oh
through a
yeah,
brick
no,
wall against Sydney on the weekend. So
I love Sinead Goldrick. Again, I've talked with Mike a little bit that I'm hoping this offseason to get a few of the to try to get a few of the Irish players to be able to talk and have them on the podcast because I would love to learn
please get Goldie
th
on.
their
She is the
story.
best.
Well, if you have any
Yeah.
access to her, please let her know. I would love to have her on. Like I
I'll put in
legitimately,
a good word for you.
well, next time you do, I would love you to death if you did. I know this is on podcast branding here. I'm sorry. My apologies on that. But yeah, I love Sinead Goldrick. Absolutely love her to death. She's one of my favorite D's players to watch.
Yeah.
She's just it was Shelly Heath's another one. Like I just human pinball, but love her, love him to death. It was the same thing when Lily Mithen was with you guys. Loved her, just
Yeah.
love her attack on the football. Sad to see her leave, but I think she's been a pleasant addition for Gold Coast for sure. So
Yep.
no,
She'll
that
be good. She'll be good for Gold Coast
yep,
and getting them to gel and be
yep,
a
one
close
hundred
knit
percent.
team. So
Yep. So and then we
I miss her
always
too.
And then we always move on again. My ode to the origins of the podcast, the fourth and long section of the podcast, the early years of the pod before it transitioned to what it is today. And we will start off at five, the Western Bulldogs. At four, the Melbourne Demons. At three, the Brisbane Lions. At two, the St. Kilda Saints. I know they've dealt with injuries, but they keep winning. And then at one, I mean, again, they're gathering dust. I mean, I think they're going to be just, I mean, stapled there. The North Melbourne Kangaroos are at one. I know. Shocker, coach. Shocker. So when it comes to the power rankings, for sure. So that is it for the power rankings. Let's go to it. I know we're still early in the week, but I'm looking at this fixture and I cannot wait. Round 11, and I love it. We start off with a good old-fashioned showdown. Port still hasn't won one. But I'm sitting here saying this right now. Could we see a shocker? I cannot wait. Your thoughts on this, Nikki? Showdown, Adelaide, Port Adelaide, Norwood Oval.
Oh, look out! This could end up in a draw. Um, Adelaide will not be happy campers licking their wounds coming back to Adelaide after their loss to North by such a margin. And Port have their tails up after beating Hawthorn by such a margin. So I reckon it's going to be a feisty encounter. Gut feel, Port come home with the chocolates.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm one of those that sometimes the opposite result the week before can sometimes inspire you. I really want Port Adelaide to win to get that O off their streak when it comes to their crosstown rivals. And the rivalry has started to kind of brew in the women's game a little bit because of knowing people on both sides, the players that have went from both sides, whether it's Adelaide to Port or from Port now to Adelaide with a few going through it. So you're starting to see that the dislike between the two sides because there's so much familiarity in the city. I worry Port Adelaide is stepping into a red hot, angry Adelaide team that when they are on can be incredibly difficult to play. The game being at Norwood, I think, helps out Adelaide because it's a skinny and a long ground, which helps out because Adelaide wants to be contested footy and then push forward. Port wants to use their skill. There's a little bit more skill on the Port side because it's younger. It's definitely a side that's been much more used to footy in hand with the foot skills and the handball skills. I think Adelaide gets this done, but I cannot wait for this. I mean, the ruck battle is going to be fun. Allen versus Schultz. And Schultz is one of the best young rucks, if not the best ruck in the competition as we go. I mean, the midfield batting, Abby Dowrick versus Nafi. Cannot wait for that one. Seeing Sarah Allen trying to figure out Indy Tahu potentially. How's your matchups going forward? Who gets Gemma Houghton defensively? Who takes Eloise Jones for Port Adelaide? Who gets that matchup? It is a coach's dream. The Magnets are going to be so much fun to watch. How these two coaches, how Lauren Arnell and Doc Clark, how they move, because it could be the coach's box that wins this game. Because I think they're both relatively even. As I said, Adelaide's kind of come back to the pack a little bit. Port Adelaide has that youth and young talent. It's going to be fun. Gonna tip the Crows in this one. They're a little bit. I think the Norwood ground helps them out. But this is going to be a cracking Friday night game. Cannot wait for the showdown. As you labeled this off mic, and I agree with you, this could be game of the round. This is the game I think everybody's going to keep an eye on. Henson Park, Sydney, West Coast. Daisy Pierce bring her Eagles over to the Harbor City. Sydney need a win to keep their finals chances alive. Nikki, who do you like in this one?
Oh, I think Chloe comes back into the side for Sydney, and it's going to be a win to Sydney. Chloe out, I think it'll be a win to West Coast. So it'll all, I hate to say it, but yeah, it'll all hinge on Chloe Malloy's availability. I think she's just got that natural ability that can make or break a game,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what Sydney need to get the points.
Yep, you were reading my mind to a T there, Nikki. Because that was the exact same thing that went through my head. I said Chloe's availability because I'll even go a little bit further. If Chloe is back and 80% or better, I think Sydney's really got a chance to win this because she does bring she
Yeah.
brings gravitas to her, which I think will help out her other forwards, a Cynthia Hamilton, a Sarah Grundon, an Amelia Martin, or Beck Privatelli, or Giselle Davis, whoever gets the full forward spot. If she's 80% or less and still plays, I worry about it a little bit. Is Scott Gallant's going for the finals this year, risking injury? I don't think he would do that. I think if Chloe is less than 80%, I think he sits her. I'm with you. No, Chloe. I think West Coast have enough. Lucia Painter's going to be an absolute pain. I'm interested to see, does Brenna Tarrant get that matchup, or do they put an Ash Van Loon there? And then does Tanya Kennedy go to Ella Roberts? Because Tanya Kennedy, it has been known to tag some superstars out of the game because she's such a bull at the ball that sometimes when she tags, she actually gets more football because she's chasing the one that usually gets it. And then she's a beast when it comes to getting tough, contested ground ball footballs. So I want to see does Scott Gowans play a little bit? Does he throw Tanya Kennedy at an Ella Roberts? How does the ruck match up? Does Lauren Wakeford go through the center, or do we see a Sarah LeKay because of the body size of Allie Morfitt when it comes to the strength? It's going to
Mm.
be a fun matchup. Again, this is another one of the coaches mocks. The old head of Scott Gowans, the new up and coming young talented Daisy Pierce in the box. Gonna be so much fun to watch. I'm gonna tip the way I think it's gonna go. I'm gonna tip Sydney in anticipation
Unleash
of
the
Chloe
zippy
playing.
fish.
I agree. Zippy has been fantastic. Again,
Yep.
anybody that listens to my podcast knows I've been singing that girl's praises since she was 17 years old in the Waffle W. I've been singing that girl's praises for a while. So you have no idea how happy I was on draft night when Zippy fell to us. You have no idea how happy I was that particular night. No, gonna tip Sydney again. I anticipate Chloe should be back. There's probably soreness. Scotty knows he needs her for the last two games, going up against a difficult Melbourne team. I actually appreciate it. I know it was difficult to have the loss the way it was, but I think he was playing for the future. So I'm with you. Going to tip Sydney on this one, but no Chloe. I think West Coast win the game if there is no Chloe Malloy. So fun one. Windy Hill as Essendon host the Hawthorn Hawks. I think this is a Hawks bounce back. I think Essendon, unfortunately, are in for a long day with Anya McDonough and Aileen Gilroy. Hawks win this one, and I hope not, but I could see a big win for the Hawks here.
Yeah, agree. The Hawks won't have taken the loss lightly, either. They will be looking to get back on the winners list and hoping to find some form heading into the final home and away round. So hopefully we see a more competitive match from Essendon, and it's a closer game than has been. But yeah, I think definitely Hawthorn will get the win.
So, all right, we'll head out west to Fremantle Oval as the Dockers take on the Tigers. Sneaky danger game here for the Dockers because I think Richmond's
Mm.
starting to get up and about. They're starting to find their game. I'm starting to see the gel of Grace Egan, Ellie McKenzie, and Mon Conti through the center. As much as I sit here and wax lyrical about Richmond, I think I'm going to tip the Dockers. The long trip west again. Dockers back at home on the friendly confines of Fremantle over. I'm going to tip the Dockers here, but keep an eye out for Richmond because this is a cherry ripe for the Tigers to throw a stunner.
Yep, absolutely. I'm with you on that for sure. I think this is going to be a much closer game than if we looked at this fixture maybe a month ago than we would have thought. But yeah, there's definitely a chance there for the Tigers to cause an upset and really put Freo's season to bed.
Yep, definitely for sure. Let's jump up to it. Brighton Homes Arena up in Queensland. The other game of the round sees your beloved D's head up to Queensland to take on the Lions. This really is make or break it. If the D's want to finish second, they have to go into the Lions' den and get a win. Nikki, head or heart on
Yep.
this one? Do they do it, or are the Lions experienced just a little bit too much for the D's?
We tend to play the Lions better up in Brisbane than what we do down in Melbourne, funnily enough. So I think we might have a couple of extra ins this week. I do have everything crossed that Blaheen is fit and ready to play. Um, But putting my heart out of this, definitely going with my head. I think we've got much better matchup, and we have more to choose from now. With all our injuries starting to clear up a bit, so I think our midfield will be the make or break for the game. And I think that we'll be able to get hands on the ball first and feed our forward to win on the ball.
Yep, I'm with you. I'm liking the way they're going again. Brisbane has shown some vulnerabilities this year against some teams, and I agree. Going on the road, there's far less pressure. The pressure's on the home side again. Brisbane, can they get into a top four? Will they press a little bit too much? And can the D's capitalize on that, especially the way they're playing again? Cahor is absolutely in fuego. The sun is jealous with how exactly warm the Cahor is playing her football. So I'm with you. I'm going to tip the D's on that one. A fun one. Let's head to Ballarat as the Doggies host the Cats at Ballarat at Mars Stadium. I'm tipping the Doggies in this one. The Cats, I don't like their form. I'm loving the Doggies' momentum right now. I think this really, really bodes well for a Doggy side that, again, they're going to fall short when it comes to finals, but they're up and about. They got their tails up. They really are after it. And I worry the Cats are going to run into a little bit of a buzzsaw. So I'm going to tip the Doggies in this one.
I think so too, and I think the doggies will have an easy win. I think they'll get more opportunity to have shots on goal, and I think that they'll shut down Geelong's midfield quite easily. In saying that, Geelong have great ball users, and yeah, just can't believe that with how they started, that they sort of fallen away a bit the way that they have.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think the doggies are definitely going to be too strong,
Yeah.
especially in Ballarat.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one though. We
Yeah,
cannot wait because you got some absolute superstars. Like I said, Georgie Prasparkas, Ellie Blackburn, absolutely cannot
yeah,
wait for that one. Let's head to North Hobart Oval. The next victim on the North Wind train, unfortunately, looks to be St. Kilda on that again. Until somebody shows me that they have the kryptonite that is for the Superman that is North, I'm going to tip North in this one. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be a North big win with all of the injury that St. Kilda are dealing with. So I will tip North in this one. I will not do much extra talk. North win, and I worry North win big.
North win, but they'll go through to the grand final and they'll lose the grand final to Melbourne. That's my prediction. Not biased at all.
Not biased at all. No, none at all. None at all. No, absolutely. No, absolutely love it. So we'll move on. Icon Park, Carlton take on GWS. GWS travel down to Melbourne in this one. This is a sneaky danger game for me. I'm going to tip
Yep,
Carlton, but I'm going to say this right now. If GWS is within 10 points or less with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, squeaky bum cheek time for the Carlton Blue faithful. Because this is a Giants team,
yep,
again, on their day can have an incredible performance. You've got some superstars again, Zarley Goldsworthy, Georgia Garnett, some incredible players. Have they been as successful as they probably want to be? No. But Carlton right now, their form is not good. They've struggled a little bit the last two games. This is an absolute matchup nightmare to face a Giants team that's probably really, really angry that they dropped a game against Fremantle. They probably shouldn't have. This is a scary danger game. Tipping Blues, but will not shock me if the Giants pull a stunner here.
yep. I'm with you. All comes down to availability of players for Carlton. Um, I think they get some of their injured players back for a win, but definitely they shouldn't be taking GWS lightly. If they're serious about playing finals, as every team should be, they'll come out hard to make sure that they do their part to make the top eight. So
Yep.
yeah, tipping Carlton, but yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't be surprised if GWS get
Yep.
come from behind win.
And then a fun one at Bond University up in Queensland, an interesting one as the Giants take on the Collingwood Magpies. Unfortunately, a bottom of the table clash in this one. I'm interested. Who do you like in this one?
I did joke with a colleague at work today that it was going to be a nil or draw. Um, then I had to explain it because he's from Sweden and he didn't quite get my joke. So I again depends on ins and outs for the teams. I would love to see Gold Coast win. I think they've had it very tough this season, but again, like we spoke earlier about GWS not having the right coaches in the right spots, I think that's what the Gold Coast are suffering from this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if Collingwood would get the win.
I'm, for me, the Pies, again, they're too Jekyll and Hyde for me. There are games that they absolutely play fantastic football and they show that they're super competitive. And then there are games, it's like they forget. And it's really, really
Mm.
weird. Like they annoy me a little bit because I look at Britt Benici, Ruby Slicer, Ash Sentra, some of the Sab Fedrick through the rock position, some incredibly talented players. But they're young in so many others. Lucy Cronin's still really young. Kalinda Howard is still growing into it. I'm gonna tip the Suns in this one. They're up in
Oh,
Queensland. The long travel. I know they're coming off this smashing, and I think sometimes when you come off a game like that, when the coaches can kind of have a blistering review, sometimes the next game you come out with so much more, and with some of the stars that they have, I don't know. It's this weird feeling that Gold Coast pulls a stunner here and they win at home. I know it's on the road at Bond University. It's not their normal people's first stadium. I just have this weird feeling that Collingwood going up to Queensland, the Suns coming off an embarrassing loss at Great Barrier Reef Arena, that I think this is the kick in the backside that I think Gold Coast needs. So I'm going to tip the Suns in this one. This is a pure this is a crack. I'm chucking it at the stumps and hoping I get close for sure. So
this one could be a draw also.
yeah, I
Maybe they might
wouldn't
score, but
wouldn't
may
wouldn't
not be a nil or
wouldn't.
draw.
I think there's enough offensive firepower. There'll be scoring. It's the question will be
Yeah,
is how defensively sound will both teams be? Again, Collingwood can make dour affairs if they want to and play really defensive football if they really want to. Gold Coast, I think the attack off halfback with Neve McLaughlin and with away with that, I think it's going to be, like I said, it's a very interesting matchup because some of the strengths of Collingwood's lean into Gold Coast strengths. So it'd be fascinating to see how that goes. So, like I said, it is purely a gut pick on that Gold Coast one for sure. I am not confident in that pick at all. That is a 50-50 coin toss for me because I think either one in their day could have a great one. Well, Nikki, that is it. That is everything. That is all the tips done. We've went through it again. As per usual, an incredible conversation with you. I always enjoy sitting here and talking the W with you. You're a passionate W supporter, just like I am. I love sitting down and hearing your thoughts on how you see it. So again, Nikki, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Truly, truly appreciate it. It's always a blast.
Thanks for having me. As always, always look forward to our catch ups every year. We always have the fun conversations. Now, before I forget, I'm going to give a shout out to Brenna Tarrant. Caught up with her after the game last week, gave her a big hug, told her that we missed her and that we would love for her to come back to Melbourne, but love what she's doing for the Swans. So we're very lucky.
Yes, BT is fantastic. Absolutely love her to death. She's been on the podcast. She's been incredibly kind. In fact, I've said it on the podcast a few times. The whole finding out she made All Australian last year, I learned that story a few weeks before the article came out. She was on the podcast doing a review for the men's comp, and she regaled me for probably 45 minutes of everything that she had to go through on how she found out, where she found out, how she really basically said, there's no way I could get back without risking health situations or
Yeah,
financially bankrupting herself in the process. So it
yeah,
was it was an incredible story. Again, I truly truly love BT to death. She's an absolute superstar. Not only kind, but incredibly good footballer. Well deserved AA
yeah,
last year. I thought she was magnificent. Again, was it the season that the team wanted? No, but I think she really, really deserved that AA. And again, I thought she was fantastic. I felt horrible for her with Kate Hoare one on one on the one goal of the year candidate that you were talking about. not easy to have Kate Hoare one-on-one and not really having a lot
No,
of options to shut
no,
her down.
yes,
So no, 100%
yeah.
with you. So I will definitely reach out to her and tell her about the shout out here at the end of the episode. So ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this episode of Donnie's Disposals, an AFLW round review. Keep an eye out, ladies and gentlemen, as we wind down the W season, we get closer and closer to the off season. And I've put some hints out there. This year's off-season supporter series will be female fans. I want to talk with a fan from each of the 18 clubs that is a female. I want to know about the experience as female fans. I want to give you guys that opportunity to hear female voices, why some of these women are footy fans, and how much I love talking with women footy fans. So I'm looking forward to this. And I've also got a few fun interviews lined up as well. I've got one I just lined up very, very soon. That's a commentator out of South Australia that is a young commentator that I think could go some places. I think she could be an incredible caller for maybe the AFLW here in the future. Cannot wait. So that'll do it for this episode of Dice Disposals, and we'll be back again very, very soon.